the other is building one. The ring doesn't care where you come from, only if you can survive in it. Saturday, June 28th, Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Jake, for you, what does it mean to have the opportunity to fight to ex-world champion?
Yeah, no, it's a good testament to see where I'm at. You know, getting that experience and proving a lot of people wrong. My toughest test to date, my most experienced fighter that I've gone up against to date. And so I'm excited to go in there and show the world what I'm capable of, because I've had world champions and ex-world champions in sparring, but now I'm going to go do it in the bright lights.
You normally are getting better and bigger in boxing. You told us that you want to accomplish to become a world champion by yourself. So Julio Cesar Chavez will be a step in your path?
Yeah, 100%. To become world champion, I need to be ranked. That's what this fight is all about. Beating Chavez in a great fashion. We'll see where the WBA and WBC rank me, and then hopefully I'll be able to go for a world title.
How do you manage to control yourself with all the comments outside boxing that about the thing that you are doing, your effort, your work, everything?
Yeah, I don't really look at the comments or people's opinions much. I'm more so focused on the positive things and all the love from the fan base and meeting and seeing my fans in person. But no matter what you do in life, no matter who you are, not just me, it seems that successful people will always have those people trying to rip them down and haters. You know, I even, you know, Floyd and I have our beefs, but they still criticize his career with all of these different rhetorics of who he didn't fight and all of these things, and it's wild. He's one of the best ever. So I think no matter what you do in the sport of boxing, there's going to be tons of critics.
One more.
Yeah. My last question, it's about you are doing your path, but at the same time, you are opening a new path for female boxers. Why did you decide to do it at the same time?
Yeah, look, I mean, meeting Amanda Serrano and hearing her story and how she didn't get the pay, the spotlight, all the things that she deserved, it touched my heart, and I knew that I could do something to help her, and I knew that fighters were getting underpaid, men and women, and taken advantage of by promoters who are sharks in the business. It's a classic thing in the sport of boxing, and I knew that we could make a difference. And Nikisa is the best teammate I've ever had in my career, and we sat down together and we're like, you know, we can help other people. And really, once we started doing it, we realized how much it was working, and since then it's just been this snowball effect, and it's only been about 3.5 years, and we've already taken over, and somehow it's only going to get bigger from here.
But what you said is critical, right? Doing it at the same time. No athlete, forget about boxing, in any sport has ever put on his peers, male, and in his instance, female, ever. And he started at 25 and now he's at 28, right? And I couldn't be more proud of this young man that he's putting that on his shoulders at this age and still going out there and fighting. Canelo has never done that, right? Probably will never do it. Never, ever do it. So you have to respect what this young man has accomplished.
Jake, when we saw you working out, it looks like you're closer than you've ever been in regards to your entire transformation toward becoming a champion, fitness-wise. And I'm sure you feel that way with your boxing skill as well. Are you getting to that point to where you truly feel like you are that close to becoming a champion?
Yeah, 100%. Everything is clicking more and more, and statistically, this was my best camp, best shape I've ever been in, lowest heart rates and sparring and runs and all of these things. And I'm just continuing to get better with each camp, and it's been 5.5 years. And so every month that I'm in this sport, I get exponentially better.
And look, I mean, I know that you've kind of rushed yourself at points, but a lot of people in boxing say, hey, it's so smart to take your time. And as you look into the next champion, it seems like Badu Jack would be a far smarter move for you than Zurdo Ramirez. Do you feel like that will be the next champion, or the champion?
I don't know if Zurdo deserves Jake Paul. Seriously, he just came out there and just walked around with his belts. Didn't even put a show on for the fans, right? Like, Jake wants to fight people who are going to race to his level, and show the fan base what it means to be a boxer and get people excited. I'll let Jake answer it, but I was so disappointed in what I saw in Zurdo right there. This is your chance to show everybody why you should fight Jake Paul next. But instead we're showing belts to these kids?
Yeah, either one of them could get it, really.
And do you still hold out hope for a Canelo fight?
Yeah, I think it has to happen at some point, you know, and especially, get through this fight, get ranked, go for the world championship, have the cruiserweight belt, and then me and Canelo can fight for the cruiserweight world championship.
One last question. I know this is out of both of your guys' control, but there's been some things outside of sports where ICE has, tried to.
We want to talk about the fights,
okay.
That's all we're focused on. I appreciate you.
Kevin Garcia, aka the Puerto Rican KKG. I mean, just, kind of picking up on where the Canelo talk left off, they recently had an interview, Canelo and Crawford, and, Canelo was asked about you, Jake, and he said jokingly that your life was spared, but a little bit more seriously that, a brutal beatdown is what you missed by not having that fight. What's your response to that?
My response is he's 5'8", like, I'll see that guy anywhere end his life, for real. Like, he doesn't want the smoke. I'll beat him in boxing, but at the end of the day, if it was just man on man in the street, I would literally rip his heart out.
Yeah, and in regards to that fight and just the whole promotion behind it, I saw your tweet or your comment about, fighters coming out before promoters and just, what that press conference looked like. I gotta ask you, do you think Turkey has a vendetta against you or try to sabotage the fight between you and Canelo?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think he should have a vendetta. I don't know why he would or anything like that, but I definitely do think they threatened, and I know that they threatened to pull his, multi-$100 million contract if he were to fight me.
And just one last topic, or one last question on that topic. What do you think about, the way that it's been promoted? It seemed like they were very friendly. They were going to dinner, then there was a push. Just what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I think it's corny, to be honest. I tweeted, imagine if Ronaldo and Messi had dinner together before the World Cup. That's just not how real competitors. You think Michael Jordan was doing that type of shit? So I think it's corny, and I would never engage in any of those activities.
Great, Sammy, pro boxing fans. Looking back on the Mike Tyson fight, the event itself and the fight, what did you learn from yourself as a boxer facing Mike?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was staying calm in a big moment, knowing how massive the fight was, and not letting the nerves get the best of me and just rising to the occasion. And Mike, taught me some things in the ring. He was hard to hit, that had movement off the center, and he had a lot of power, which is why I had to be careful in there. So I just fought a smart fight.
You're a former world champion. On Saturday night, you've got former world champions calling you out. Carl Froch says he'd come out of retirement to fight you. Carl Froch, former
We don't want to spend time with Carl Crutch.
champion.
No Carl Crutch, thank you.
Two questions for you guys, Marcos Villegas, Fight Up TV. One for Jake. Jake, knowing Junior's story and knowing what he had to go through and the addiction problems and all that, is there, outside of this, I'm just curious, is there a part of you as Jake Paul, the person, that kind of empathizes with him and feels sorry for him for what he's been through in his life?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's tough for anyone. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody, and obviously I say things to promote fights and make it all fancy and entertaining, but at the end of the day, I know a lot of people, and I have friends that have dealt with things like that, and I don't wish that upon anybody.
And this question's for both you guys, Jake and Nikisa. Just in general, just now having spent these 5 years in boxing, seeing how the boxing business is, seeing what you guys have contributed to boxing, what are your guys' honest thoughts of what Turkey has done when he's come into the sport?
Yeah, look, I think it's been a lot of good, and I think there's a lot of bad as well. But I mean, that's with anything. Nothing can be perfect. And I respect him for making big fights happen. But I do think that the money he infused into the sport has definitely been harmful and caused a lot of trickle effect down, and fighters expecting big paydays when they maybe don't deserve it. So, yeah, I wish there was more fights in the United States because I don't think people really watch the overseas fights. But other than that, I want boxing to be as big as possible, and I want boxing to inspire the next generation. So anyone who can add to that in a positive way, I'll take my hat to.
And for us, it's, look, we have an ethos of being fighter first, right? So if anyone comes in and truly, genuinely puts the fighters first, we're always going to be supportive of that. And you have to make your own conclusion if that's what they are.
Okay, just back in California again after all these years, what are the emotions like coming back to a place where you made your name, probably had some of your best days, maybe some of your worst days too? Does it feel, are there any emotions coming back here?
No, honestly, the vibe has just been amazing. It's been an amazing fight week, good energy all the way through, and I just feel like a completely different person coming back here. So it's almost like none of that bad or good stuff ever happened. I feel like I'm just a completely different person than who I was even 6-7 years ago.
You moved away from LA to Puerto Rico to focus on your boxing career. If you hadn't moved to Puerto Rico, how do you think your boxing career would have looked like if you remained in California?
Not as good. Yeah, California, there's too many distractions, too much going on. Puerto Rico has given me that peace of mind and a place where I can focus and just train all the time.
And finally, you've obviously signed a lot of great British talent on the female roster. Could that potentially point to an MVP event in the UK, and could you potentially fight in the UK one day?
Yeah, for sure. We would love to. We're going to do it all, and I'd love to come back to the UK and maybe for Anthony Joshua, maybe Madison Square Garden, who knows? But I'd love to fight in the UK, and we'll definitely do an event there.
Nikita, any plans in motion for a UK event?
We've had discussions around later this year in terms of having a UK event based on the roster of talent that we've built. In terms of Jake, it really depends on who he's fighting next and if that makes sense or not. Right? The Tommy Fury fight is definitely a fight that he still wants if Tommy ever gets realistic about compensation. But he's got a pretty big challenge ahead of him on Saturday night. So that's really the focus and delivering on that. For me, when you look at Jake's career, he fought an 18-2 Ryan Borland and a 10-1 Andre August and beat them both in the first round. And people discredited that. But the reality is it wasn't because those guys weren't proficient boxers, it's because they weren't used to the big stage. And this young man's been on the big stage the whole time, right? Now when you get in there with Julio's already been on the big stage. He's had some of the biggest moments in the sport, and he has the experience. So that makes me nervous. So before I think about if he's going to the UK, I want to see him get through Saturday night the right way.
Jake, just off of what Jack was asking about being back in California, is it almost like obviously you meet some people here who you would have been hanging around with at the time, but if you look at your circle around when you fought Kid, for example, or when you fought Deji when you started out, and then your circle now, pretty much unrecognizable. Do you find it like weird running back into old friends and old people in LA?
No, I think that's a normal part of life. People grow, people change, and some people you're not friends with anymore, and that's totally normal and okay. But I definitely I'm not the same energy as this LA crowd anymore. I definitely wouldn't fit in here anymore.
I spoke to Dana White the other day about you're going head to head with the UFC this weekend, and they've got Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, and he did the old I knew you a couple of times. Oh, I didn't even know they were fighting. What do you think? What's your response to Dana? I think he called it's a kind of shit show as well.
He called what?
I think he said it's a shit show or something like that.
Our event's a shit show?
Well, he said the fact that he didn't know about it. Like the fact that he would think
that's a blatant lie that he didn't know about it, because he pays attention to every single little thing that Jake Paul does to the 20th degree, including the guest on your show that said he left his own event to watch your fight, correct?
Yeah.
So, listen, we've been in this business for less than 40 years as MVP, right? We already put on the biggest event. They're following us after another event that we're doing, okay? What we've accomplished in 40 years, they're 40 years in the game. Of course, we hope that they're bigger than us, that they do bigger revenue than us. They should. But you can't discount what he's done in 4 years. It's unbelievable. And I know Dana watches every single thing this kid does. 100% fact.
What do you think, Jake?
I mean, the UFC is dying, so I don't really think there's any floor to stand on. They don't have any current stars, and they have skillful fighters, but it's all just become wrestling and boring fights. Just take people to the ground. All the Dagestani fighters are winning everything, and no one wants to see that. UFC is dying, so he can say whatever he wants, but you told him about the fight, right?
That's what he said.
So now he knows about the fight. That's what the point of press and media is. That's why we're here selling the pay-per-view. So maybe not everyone knows about it yesterday or today, but by Saturday, everyone knows about it.
And of course, last one, Tommy Fury was speaking recently. He seemed to indicate that the rematch is going to happen sort of within the next 12 months or so. I guess, like obviously, you're talking about world titles. That's a little bit of a different level than Tommy Fury, but obviously, I'd imagine you want revenge for your one loss.
Yeah, look, I'm on a path to world championship, and if Tommy gets realistic, we can make that happen, but he's just like outpriced himself. I'm the only thing that Tommy has. I don't need Tommy. I would love to avenge the loss 1,000%, but there's 15 people with massive names waiting to fight me, and also the goal is to become world champion. I won knockout of the year, most watched fight ever. The only thing left to do in the sport is to become world champion.
In terms of that, Nikita, one for you is more the trajectory of Jake's career and the matchmaking. After the Mike Tyson fight, everyone and anyone was calling out Jake, wanted a piece of him. He's obviously got people that are looking more kind of exhibition route. You've got the world champion route, and then you've got people like Usyk talking about doing MMA fights. How do you balance the trajectory of his career and which route you want to go down? Because you want the big paydays and you want the numbers, but also you want the route that's going to get him the end goal. How do you manage that, and what's the future looking like for Jake?
Jake's the most professional boxer in professional boxing. And what that means is he has an ability to do different things at any given time. What we did with Mike Tyson was game-changing for the sport of boxing. Right? It opened up so many new eyes to this sport. It's given us a whole new lifeline for the women in this sport. It's now putting Canelo and Crawford on Netflix. So that was important for him to do. And there's going to be other opportunities like that, which I know he's going to jump at because he wants to be a disruptor and impact the sport for the greater good for the long term, while continuing to focus on his trajectory of becoming the world champion. And I know he can do both. Do the one-off events that people are like, oh, this is a sideshow. No, it's actually a cultural mainstream moment that gets everyone focused on boxing. And only he can do, right? And then he's back to focusing on a fight like this, which is hopefully setting him up to fight a year ago, right? Or a body jack. Maybe you should add to that, but that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also, I've been in the sport for 5.5 years, so just time, I've just continued to fight everybody at every turn, and I think of it like juggling, right? Like someone might not be ready to fight at one given moment. They're doing a fight, someone's doing this person doesn't price themselves out, KSI's a pussy. Boom. Like we've got to figure it out and see, who's ready to make it happen.
Jake, you talked there about time, and a lot of people like to talk about hurdles that are in your way to becoming world champion. I guess one of the things that I would think would be time, the fact that compared to other people that have become world champions, you picked up the sport pretty late in comparison. What would you say, though, the biggest hurdle is? Do you think it is time and trying to kind of speed up the process, or do you think there's other factors that have made it almost more difficult or more impressive if you're able to get to that end destination?
No. I mean, definitely my experience is the only thing that's in the way. However, I believe God blessed me with talent and power and speed, and that can make up for the lack of experience. And I know what I'm capable of. I prepare properly. My cardio is always on point. I come to fight, and I have a chin that hasn't even really been tested yet. But I know that I've beaten world champions in sparring, and I just have to do it on the big lights.
One more there. Cesar Chavez have been in very highs and very lows. What are your expectations about Julio?
Yeah, I think Julio is going to come harder than he ever has before. There's so much on the line for him here. everyone's saying it's, you know, the hardest they've ever seen him work. He has a lot to prove, and no one wants to lose to me, and I have a tendency to bring the best out of people in these big moments.
I mean, he said yesterday in their face-to-face that he would retire if he lost. He would give up boxing forever. So there's a lot on the line for him in his career, and I think he feels pretty good about his chances from his perspective.
Jake, one more. So you've had some highlight reel knockouts with some really accomplished fighters, MMA and boxers. Ben Askren, one of his best knockouts. He recently had a serious battle with pneumonia. He's in a list for a transplant for lung. Your thoughts on Ben Askren, and have you reached out to him, or do you know any of this?
Yeah, no, my prayers go out to him, and yeah, I feel sorry for his family. I can't imagine what they're going through, and yeah, I just hope that he can recover. And you know, there's so much more into life besides fighting and careers. So on a personal level,